Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. AirborneErnesto here. Believe I was going to give you some good content here of me trying to get rid of a crime stat here in Star Citizen. Firstly, if you are new to Star Citizen or you have any friends that are interested in playing Star Citizen, there's a referral link posted here on the video that you can use when signing up with a new account. You get some free starter cash as well as a free MPUV starter ship if you use that code before January 10th, 2022. Now, what had happened was we were checking out some ground vehicles on Microtech when our Grey Cat exploded, thus leaving me with a crime stat for homicide. And I awoke in an unfamiliar location, as you can see, on Grim Hex, which is a location that I have not yet visited. I guess I don't try new things. I don't know why I've never been here before. But when I awoke, I saw that I did not have a crime stat, which kind of confused me. But you'd see later that I'd wander around the station here, attempting to get my bearings and find my way to the starport. Enjoy, and thanks for joining me today. This is the point where I found a location where I could pay off bounties, which ultimately confused me more because I did not see a bounty here, as you can see on the screen in game there. So I do a little bit of further research to try to get an answer to what was going on. One thing I was aware of is eventually I would need to get rid of my crime stat if I had one. And I remember seeing somewhere following the arrows in Grim Hex to this red door where I would be able to find the Tiger's Claw, which would be useful in hacking one of the security depots on several planets to be able to get rid of my crime stat. And as you can see, I purchased a few of those here on Grim Hex. At this point, while trying to find the starport, my ADHD would get the better of me, and I saw a clothing store, so I guess I figured I would stop and check out the merchandise and get me a sick new getup for when I was able to make my way back to civilization, whether that be Area 18, New Babbage, etc. After finding a new getup that I kind of thought looked good, I set out looking for the starport. But of course, again, I would be sidetracked by finding a weapons and armor location where I would have to try a bunch of things on, and I ended up buying actually 3 sets of armor and backpacks for what I thought would be a good loadout for my Drake Corsair, which I was currently using for my daily driver. Now at some point I was able to locate the vehicle hangar where I filed a claim for my Corsair in order to lift off and attempt to get rid of my crime stat now that I was fully equipped with weapons and armor and a Tiger's Claw. So I was ready to venture forth at this point.
20 minutes later.
And finally, after a long wait, there she was, the Drake Corsair, which I would board and attempt to make my way to Lyria to one of the Arcor Moon security depots to attempt to get rid of my now bounty. Now, in a poor attempt to move over all of my local items into the ship's inventory, I played a little bit of Inventory Simulator, which would later turn out to be an entire waste of time. Now, it wouldn't be until I started warping towards Arcor that I would formally understand that I did indeed have a bounty, which I had recently acquired on the explosion of the Grey Cat with my buddy on Microtech before. So this just confirmed my suspicions of having that homicide claim. Now, when I arrived on Lyria, I partially contemplated taking down the comms array, but ultimately I ended up going directly to the security depot to attempt to hack the security depot there and get rid of my bounty. But as you'll see, a series of events unfolded that were kind of not suspected by me. Now, when I arrived at the security depot, it was not a huge surprise to me that I would have some resistance, as I would be trespassing, especially with a crime stat. So I attempted to take out the missiles that were at the location, and as you'll see, a few things unfolded. Now, long story short, I decided to kind of just head out when, as you'll see in a minute, the server just died. I mean, I was just a few kilometers away from the security depot, and the server completely crashed, leaving me with no other choice but to go to the desktop and attempt to restart the game. Now, much to my surprise, I did respawn inside of the Corsair bunk, where when I got out of the bed, it pushed me outside of the ship. And I'll just give you a little showcase of the problems that I had attempting to get back into the ship to board and try to take off from Lyria. At one point I was able to lower the ramp to the Corsair, and I attempted to board that way. No success. Spoiler alert, I wasn't able to get to the cockpit and actually get into the pilot seat. Even after having the ability to see the entire underbelly and inside of the Drake Corsair. I made several attempts when I was close to the pilot seat to attempt to board, to no avail. Eventually I was able to get the elevator to come back down, and even though I was sinking below the map, I was able to get on top of that elevator, and I came up with an idea to attempt to get to the roof level of the Corsair to see if maybe if I clipped below the surface, perhaps I would be able to board and get into the cockpit of the ship. And finally, success. I was able to click on the cockpit pilot seat and board my ship. At this point, I would come to the conclusion that I was missing an entire wing, which for some reason did not affect my flying capabilities at all. Even in the atmosphere of Lyria, I had no torque imbalance, albeit it may have shown on the screen that I had a problem with that, but I flew as normal, didn't notice any difference, and I decided to head off the planet and attempt to go repair and try again to see if I could get back to the security depot and rid myself of the crime stat that I still had active at this point. Now, the only safe haven I was aware of was Grim Hex, so naturally I set a warp location to Grim Hex to attempt to repair my ship, albeit I was a little nervous that now that I had a crime stat, I was afraid that a bounty hunter might be out for the money that might be involved in my demise. The approach to Grim Hex would be a little nerve-wracking for me, but as you'll see in the video, it proved to be kind of an uneventful situation. Now, I've heard that the occupants of Grim Hex usually are good to each other and understand that a lot of them have bounties and don't mess with you, and it was a relief to see that that was a true situation. So that was a first for me. I realize now that maybe that was just like a hacked situation with Grim Hex, but initially when I heard that, I thought maybe it was a player hailing me, and I did get a little scared at first. And in addition to the random spin out, I didn't feel like I made contact with any asteroids, but nonetheless, kind of tripped me out a bit. At this point, I hope you're enjoying the video. If you have enjoyed the video, I would greatly appreciate a like on the video. And I've said it before in a previous video, but currently I have quite a bit of views on some of these videos, and 99.9% of viewers and returning viewers to this channel are not subscribed. It would help the YouTube algorithm if you were to subscribe to this channel so that others would have the opportunity to be suggested this video and other videos in the future, and possibly join the community. Now, long story short, I decided to go ahead and pull out the Drake Buccaneer after grabbing a weapon and make my way back to Lyria Security Depot to once again head out and try to hack the system to rid myself of the crime stat.
You are clear to launch.
Landing gear down.
Now, I'm sure plenty of you have dealt with this before, but if you ever tried to come in sneakily to a security depot or a location that has turrets, you may have tried to circumvent the area of fire of the turrets on said point, and then you landed, and you didn't see anything hitting your ship in third person, and only to be surprised that your ship starts blowing apart until you go back to first person and see that you're taking heavy damage. This is what's happened here, and I immediately try to evade and leave the vicinity, which would actually end up rendering my ship barely flyable, as you'll see in a minute. Okay, so long story short, my ship would just keep flipping backwards, I suppose, up in the air. No matter how fast or slow I tried flying, if I started to veer too far forward or backwards, my ship would just try to do a backflip. So over the next few minutes, I decided to attempt to just land and run on foot to the security depot and attempt to just get into the facility that way. And now the nearly 2.5 kilometer trek was on. Now, finally, I had made it to my destination on the security facility, and I was ready and armed for a complete battle here with the AI of the security depot. Now, I had seen to add the Tiger's Claw to the utility equipment area to have it ready for once I got to the computer location to hack. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. You thought there'd be an awesome battle montage. Well, there wasn't. There was no AI in the entire area. But long story short, I had troubles trying to get the item into my hands, so I had seen online that most people would just drop the item onto the floor, and then they would just look down and pick up the Tiger's Claw and use it. Well, if it was any indication of my luck earlier in the day with the bugs and the crashes, it was only right that my Tiger's Claw would fall through the planet, never to be seen again, rendering me completely useless. All of the time and effort put together into getting this situation figured out, culminating into absolute nothingness. I was pissed. Now I'll save the details of me trekking back the 2.5 kilometers back to my ship. At this point, I was done. I was fed up. I had tried so many attempts to get this figured out the right way, and it was kind of just a YOLO moment here that I decided to take my Buccaneer and just not really fire back and head straight to the turrets to see what would happen.
Shield system is hit.
Oh, and didn't I mention that my ship didn't fly at all? Rest in pepperonis. Though once again I awoke in Grim Hex. Okay, well, I thought Grim Hex. Turned out that I had been quote-unquote apprehended, and confusingly I walked around the terminal and realized that I was in fact in jail. So I ended up accepting a mission to reset the O2, I guess, thing in Path 1, Level 6 of the mining facility, which made no sense to me. I had no clue where to go. And after several minutes of mindlessly making my way through the system, I indeed found it and reset it, which would give me enough credits to get released from jail and turn around and make my way all the way back to the start where I would be released.
Attention! Attention! Please direct your attention towards the front gates. One of our guests has completed their rehabilitation and is being released. Let's give them a round of applause. Good luck back in the world, Seville.
How cute. So for the final time, I awoke. And where was I this time? And oddly enough, fully armored from when I was once again, quote-unquote, apprehended. Well, I was back at my home station, Bajini Point, fully kitted out as I was when I was shot down in the Lyria Security Depot system. And there I was, confused and feeling like I had not accomplished anything. Well, guys, I know what you're thinking. I did not successfully get rid of my bounty. I tend to disagree. And if you were looking for a moment of learning and enlightenment that one would expect from a video, nonetheless a tutorial, well, look no further. I have taught you nothing. That is all. Like, subscribe, comment. See you in the next one.